Let's review some blood work from a friend of mine who's about my age. Really great guy. He has 2 kids right now and 1 on the way. I really care about this individual. I'm going to anonymously share some of the things that I found in his labs. He wants to be held accountable, and I'm going to review these with him. So as you can see here, the first thing that we see is this ferritin is high. It's 463 nanograms per ml. And so we know that ferritin, we know that that's the stored form of iron. It's an acute phase reactant. Oftentimes people's ferritin can bounce around. If you were to get COVID or get the flu, your ferritin will be high. We might want to rule out hemochromatosis, but to save money, I'm going to recommend this individual just go and rerun their labs. Unless we know historically that his ferritin is in the 400s, because you do not want high iron or high ferritin, right? We know that there is a link with Alzheimer's and dementia with high ferritin and high iron. As I mentioned, iron is an acute phase reactant and ferritin is as well, and this could be problematic. So that's the first thing. And the other thing that we see is, and we've talked about blood thickness and blood viscosity on this video right here. His hemoglobin is 16. This is grams per deciliter. And his hematocrit is 47.2%. He lives at sea level. And his testosterone is on the higher side. I don't know if he's on HRT or not. I'm going to recommend just preemptively to donate blood because the ferritin's a little on the high side, iron's higher, hemoglobin, hematocrit, blood viscosity could be a challenge because his Lp(a) is on the higher side. And if you're wondering what are all these biomarkers, why are we talking about this? Well, download the Bloodwork cheat sheet. If you want to get your labs reviewed by me and work with me to create a custom plan so we can address some issues that you're having, I'm happy to work with you. I'll put links to schedule in the description of this video. I only take 1 client a day. So availability is a little bit, limited, but I am open to working with you if that is what you would like to do. Because, when we scroll down and we look at his Lp(a), it's 83 nanomoles per liter, which is on the higher side. And we did a video recently about lipoprotein a and why high levels are bad and what it could mean. And so there is this association with sleep disordered breathing and sleep apnea and high Lp(a). So something to consider there. But as I mentioned, mouth tape can be great, but there's other factors that could be at play here. Now, if this individual had really low ApoB to A1 ratios, and also if his triglycerides were on the low side, and his asymmetric dimethylarginine was low, I wouldn't really care about the Lp(a) or the high LDL, but that's not the case. His fasting triglycerides are 110 nanograms per deciliter. Total cholesterol is 229. VLDL is higher than I like to see at 20 milligrams per deciliter. So what are my thoughts and recommendations? Well, first, I just want to say thank you for being here and enjoying the content. Hopefully you do. Hopefully you're getting value from these screenshots, these notes. If you are, hit that like button. We're going to review 2 comments from the last video shortly. So be sure to leave a comment on this video and we could possibly review that comment on the next one. Now, I just want to plug, since we're talking about metabolic health, we have a new exciting tool known as Berberine Fasting Accelerator, which has been reformulated to feature the Hemiberb raw material, which is the only hand-harvested, wild-crafted Berberis aristata extract in the world from the Himalayas. It's awesome. Clinical studies to support its potential to optimize your metabolic health and curb evening food cravings. 2 to 3 capsules before major meals. This stuff actually works. It's really effective, really profound. So you can save with the code podcast over at myoscience.com. Again, 2 to 3 capsules, 30 minutes before your last meal is a great way to curb those food cravings, help to get your body into optimal shape for the summer. You could also use it in the morning if you're doing fasting, intermittent fasting throughout the day. So check that out over at myoscience.com. Now, getting back to metabolic health observation. So one of the main biomarkers that I like to look at, and Tom Dayspring does as well, Peter Attia, many people, is fasting triglycerides. We want to see like, hey, and the goal, I know not everyone's going to get there, but in an ideal world, your HDL cholesterol would be higher than your triglycerides. Okay. So what does that really look like? Well, some people have an HDL of 60 milligrams per deciliter and their triglycerides are like 45 milligrams per deciliter. That would be amazing. If you could do that. And how do you do that? Well, becoming metabolically flexible by way of exercise. We have kind of 3 knobs. We have the intermittent fasting knob, we have the exercise knob, and we also have the carbohydrate knob. So by adhering to a low processed sugar diet, a low carbohydrate style diet, and exercising, and what does that mean? That means walking 10 to 12,000 steps per day, resistance training 3 to 4 days per week. That's a really good protocol, and just recommendations for daily living to optimize metabolic health and to keep blood sugar levels in a good balance so that the triglycerides don't start to creep up. Because what happens oftentimes is when we're having sweets, breads, chips, baked goods, sugary food, sugar sweetened beverages, those processed and high glycemic index carbohydrates actually get converted into lipids. The process is known as de novo lipogenesis, and this is a phenomenon that is actually quite prevalent. So the easiest way to lower your lipid levels is to actually cut out carbs, and then also making sure that you're exercising. So the best way to lower your glucose is to go for a walk. Even if you do have a soda, which I don't recommend, but if you had soda, you had chips, you have a candy bar, go for a sprint, go for a walk. If you want to go out and get a donut with your partner, on the weekend, or your kid, if you do a hike before or after, you're going to help to blunt some of that postprandial increase in glucose, which could help lower your triglycerides. So that's really important stuff. The other thing that I notice here, the ApoB to A1 ratio, again, in an ideal world, the relative proportion of ApoB to ApoA1 containing lipoproteins would be 0.5. In his case, it's closer to 1. It's actually 0.8. So that suggests to me that there is some underlying insulin resistance metabolic health, which can render the LP(a) and the ApoB containing lipoproteins to be more atherogenic. So we want to focus on that. I did notice that his testosterone was quite optimal. Hemoglobin A1C was only 5.1%, which is great. But what I did see here too is his DHEA is on the low side. So I did recommend taking DHEA. So for men, we want to look at about 10 milligrams per decade of life. So if you're a 40-year-old male, you can take 40 milligrams at night. What's really interesting about DHEA is it can potentially antagonize cortisol. Cortisol is the only hormone that doesn't decline as you get older. Think about that. Every other hormone does, generally speaking. Testosterone, DHEA, estrogen in women, estrogen in men. Thyroid hormones change and so forth. But growth hormones decline. But cortisol only increases as you get older. And that is generally why sleep quality goes down with age. And so how do you mitigate that? Well, you can take DHEA because it's been known to antagonize cortisol, particularly at night. So I recommend individuals take DHEA in the evening time, and that can help to decrease some of the cortisol and the sleep disruption induced by elevated cortisol as you get older. So something to think about. Also, his fibrinogen levels were on the higher side, 309 milligrams per deciliter as well. So blood donation, hydration, DHEA, more exercise, less processed foods, and optimizing sleep disorder breathing and sleep in general are my recommendations for this individual. So if you got some value from this video, please hit that like button, and we'll catch you in a future episode down the road. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, got some value from this. If you did, please hit that like button. Be sure to share this with a friend, and we'll catch you on a future one down the road.